Afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Al Lindsay. It's my privilege to represent Miles Karson, who's the district attorney in Mercer County. Rather late in the evening, last evening, we learned for the first time that misdemeanor charges had been filed against Mr. Karson. Since that time, he has been deluged with requests from the media for comment, as have I. And we thought that rather than just going through these things piecemeal, we would give everybody a chance this afternoon. And then I think that's going to be it. It's our policy, and I think Miles agrees, that we don't like to try our cases in the media. And so consequently, we're somewhat reticent to make comments about the case. We don't think it's the way we practice law, and it's not the way we want to proceed with any kind of case. So with that in mind, Mr. Karson has a statement that he would like to read, and I have copies of this statement that anybody want. I hope I have enough, I may not. So with that, Mr. Karson, what I'd like you to do is to address the media.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. As Attorney Lindsay said, I learned of the charges yesterday afternoon, actually late afternoon. Caleb Strait from the Record Argus approached me at a candidate forum in the city of Farrell at the Second Baptist Church and asked me about the charges, and I was surprised, and I think he could attest to that fact. I've not yet had the opportunity to review and evaluate what is being said by the Attorney General's office. It would be inappropriate for me to attempt to address what has been put out in the media, whether that's through the release of paper from the magistrate's office or by word of mouth of other people. I assure you that I've committed no offense, and I'm anxious to fight the allegations made in a courtroom. In the meantime, I intend to continue to perform my duties as the district attorney of Mercer County. It will be business as usual. I'm going to decline further comment on these charges because as a lawyer for the last 42 years, I've learned and am firmly of the opinion that matters like this can only be tried and resolved fairly in a courtroom and not in the media. I'm a firm believer in the court system. I have great trust in the legal process, and I'm confident that it will resolve these charges in our favor.
Thank you so much. I'm kind of an overbearing defense lawyer, and I instruct my clients not to say anything to the media. So I would address, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best I can. Does anybody have anything before we adjourn?
Really quickly, there are now Mercer County-based lawyers obviously calling for Miles to resign. Do you have any comment?
I have no, as I understand it, Mr. Karson has no intention of resigning at this time. There's no reason for him to resign, and so that's how I'd address that. We're not resigning.
Can you talk about Miles' relationship with Tanya?
I cannot, because that's the essence of the case, I think, and consequently, I don't think I can address that particular thing. I hope you understand.
16 or 17 criminal charges filed against him. How do you continue to do the job with this cloud looming over you, knowing that people are commenting outwardly saying he committed a criminal offense multiple times over and over again?
First of all, the number of counts in any case is no way of an indication of how serious the case is. And I would just state that at the outset. Secondly, you need to understand something. All that needs to happen for these charges to be filed is an assistant attorney general or deputy attorney general going to a magistrate and filing them. Just because someone makes an accusation, you may not believe this, and sometimes I don't believe it, but in America, you're innocent until proven guilty, and consequently you have an absolute right to have your case taken to trial. One of the things we found out recently, and quite frankly I'm alarmed by it, is the fact that we have the media determining the outcome of the cases. We want to fight this case in court, and we will fight this case in court. But whatever the public opinion is, as created by the news media, I can't control that. And what do I say? People are going to think what they're going to think. It's America. Everybody has opinions. I hope I've answered your question.
Does it put some of his other cases in jeopardy?
I'm not aware of any case that it puts in jeopardy at this time. Anything else?
You said you haven't read over the 23-page long criminal complaint, is that correct?
I have read it. I have read it.
How do you respond to those allegations?
Well, the way I respond to those allegations is we're actually anxious to disprove them in court. Anything else? I feel like the teacher who's asked a question and then put down I thought we'd have more questions. I think I may have come on too strong about the media. Anything else?
So you're just, at this point, you mentioned going about business as usual,
We're going to go about business as best we can, because we can't have a situation when you're a public official and someone makes any allegation against you and for some reason someone wants to file criminal charges. We can't just quit because someone makes allegations, particularly when you want to defend on them. So the answer is, when we say we're going to go on and do our job, we are as best we can. Obviously, there are certain impediments, but we think we can go on.
You said the charges were a surprise. What else? What other emotions? Frustration? What else is the emotion there?
If I let this guy go and tell you what his emotions are, he'll violate everything that he and I have decided not to do it, because Mr. Karson is very, very upset that these charges were filed. He has very strong feelings about them. He has very strong feelings about the way the investigation has been conducted, and I just don't want to let him get going, because I'm afraid I would have to be controlling him, and I didn't want to do that today. Anything else?
Really quick, your message to the taxpayers who will inevitably see the headlines, flip on their TVs, and see, as you mentioned, all of these allegations against him. What do you want these people to know tonight?
I want these people to know that these charges, in our opinion, are defensible. We intend to defend them, and our position is this is a great public servant, and I don't want to get into the motivations as to why they were filed and who was behind them and things of that nature. But what I want to tell the taxpayers, if you would, wait and see. Wait and see what the evidence is in court that is produced. Wait and see what occurs when this is actually put to a jury. That's the message I want to give. Anything else? Yes?
Any comment on the grand jury investigation?
The grand jury investigation, I guess I'm an old hand with grand jury investigations. I was doing them in Butler County in the 1970s. A grand jury is a secret process, and they hear one side, whatever the prosecutor wants them to hear. And consequently, a grand jury only hears what the prosecutor wants them to hear, and the grand jury says, based on this, we think that charges should be filed. But it's a stacked deck. There's an old statement that a good prosecutor, or a bad prosecutor, I guess, could get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. I mean, they're totally under the control of the prosecutor. I used to do that. Anything else?
You mentioned a trial several times. Do you think it'll go that far? Do you see any resolution before that?
In any criminal case, there are various steps along the way where you try to eliminate charges. And I think based on what we see, we may or may not file those charges. There's a preliminary hearing scheduled in this case on December 18th. And that will be the first opportunity we have to see these witnesses and see what they actually have to say, as opposed to what the prosecutor's, the Attorney General's office says they're going to say. That's the first step. Now, subsequent to that, we will have the opportunity to file what they call pretrial motions. We file an omnibus pretrial motion, and one of those motions is a motion for habeas corpus. And in that particular type of motion, we challenge the evidence to whether the case will go forward. Whether we will file those motions will depend on a number of factors, such as what we hear at the preliminary hearing, what we get in discovery, things of that nature. So the answer is it going to go to trial? The answer is it depends. From what I see right now, however, there's no possibility of any type of plea in this particular case. Mr. Karson strongly believes in his innocence and believes that in a jury trial we will be vindicated.